Hi, Professor Haywood. Very sorry. This video is gonna be a recording of a recording because there's no way for me to get the link for the Zoom, and it's a little longer because I'm terrible at doing video formats without rambling about something, and then I just redo the whole thing over and over again. So sorry about that, but here we go. Okay, I'm redoing my video again. I have cats around, so they're probably going to be in and out of the frame or just making noise, but I digress. So this is my video to describe my genogram / answer the questions in the prompt, which might forget at some point. But briefly, this is my genogram. It doesn't look like a lot of information, and that's because it's not. My ideas about work and careers are really, really informed by my parents. And this project has definitely shown me that in lots of different ways. My paternal grandma kind of influenced my career path at one point, but that was very short-lived because I'm terrible at math and my grandma was a nurse and was pretty good at math. So that was kind of where we differ on that. But my parents were divorced. My mom and dad had joint custody of me and my older sister for almost 10 years of my life until my dad was awarded full custody. And my dad really, really influenced how me and my sister work, the places we decided to work. But of course, I think he might have wanted us to do something that earns more money. So I think he's just happy that we're going to be in careers where we're somewhat financially well off. He is a college graduate, got a bachelor's and a master's, worked as I forget the title right now, but he worked in geology type stuff and aerospace for a while, and then decided to open up his own geotechnical consulting company where he runs his own business essentially. And many clients, has provided me and my older sister a comfortable childhood. Like we weren't, I would say sometimes he would make a little over 6 figures, but it just kind of depends. Anyway, I'm getting off track again. My mom is only a high school graduate. She was raised as a Jehovah's Witness and therefore was really discouraged from receiving a higher education. That's something that she wanted to do and still is like very resentful about not having. And it did impact the places that she worked because she just didn't have additional degrees aside from high school. So she did a lot of retail work when she was younger, but by the time she's been through 3 marriages. Whenever she's been married, she's been a stay-at-home mom or a stay-at-home wife, whatever the situation may be, just because she was just in a position where that was the only thing she could do, or like the husband wanted her to do. It's complicated, but essentially, like, she doesn't have very much of a work record at all. And now she works as a social worker for disabled people, where she drives them around, helps them get jobs, and gets them to socialize more and things like that. And she really enjoys it, but it's definitely not something that earns a lot of money. And that's always something that she's really struggled with. And she's always been financially dependent on a man, whichever man she's with at the time. And that was part of the reason why my dad encouraged my older sister and I to go to college, and he paid for all our college, just so that we would never end up like my mom. He uses my mom as a cautionary tale very often, and has since I was very little. So because of that role that my mom fulfilled, I took career paths very seriously growing up. Of course, like I wanted to be things like a singer and an actress, and some like a ballerina, even though I'd never done ballet, things like that, because those were things that I thought I would be very passionate about. But my dad always just said that those things are never stable. You need to find something that is stable and always is going to be there. Like, find something that gets work all the time, a field that is stable enough so that you always have somebody who needs you. Because if you're in a position where, if I were to run a business and sell cookies, not everyone's going to want cookies all the time. So he always stressed that a little bit too. And yeah, but essentially my dad really enforced the idea that we should get into a field that we like, but that earns good money. And it didn't have to be six figures, but I think that's what he wants for us. And stress the idea that we need to be financially independent in case a man were to be abusive, which is exactly what happened to my mom. She fell into relationships that were not good, and the men were very controlling and everything, and she never left because she depended on their finances for everything. So she just got herself in a lot of situations that were unfortunate because of the way that she grew up. And yeah, so that's a whole thing. But my dad, even though he is successful, he gets work quite often. He's almost 73 and is still working. He doesn't fully like it because it's really hard to take time off for yourself, of course, and sometimes the paperwork can be incredibly demanding. I remember a lot of times when my dad would procrastinate on certain reports that he had to do for clients, and he just would procrastinate for weeks, sometimes months even, and it got to the point where his clients would call him and threaten to sue him, and then he'd be under a whole bunch more pressure, and it would spiral really fast. And that was just something that I never wanted for myself. I thought I wanted to do something where I could help people, because I wanted to do something that I thought would fulfill me. And I do like working as a therapist sometimes, but most days I feel like that's not really for me, and I just don't really have the personality or the work ethic to really be a good therapist. And it's not because I don't care about people or that I can't empathize and things like that, but more so, I just have a difficult time keeping my opinions to myself. If I think someone is doing something they shouldn't be doing, I will say it. And not everyone appreciates that, especially when they're coming to you for help. So that, yeah, is a whole other situation. And I'm running out of time, I realize, because I've been sidetracked. Ultimately, the way I grew up is very heavily influenced my career path, and the reason why I chose this path for myself. But my dad always discouraged doing anything with the arts because that was not stable, even though that was something that I would much rather do. And then, yeah, my dad is an immigrant, so that heavily impacted the way that I saw work and career as well. I'm going to go a little over the 10 minutes. I'm really sorry, Professor. But yeah, he really stressed the idea of continuing to progress the family line. Like, he started his own business and was able to buy properties and things like that, and kind of expects me and my sister to succeed in the same way. So there's a lot of pressure to either be at his level or go past that, because there's pride in that. So there's that too. But I mean, being a woman has impacted why I chose to be a therapist, and everyone told me that it was something that I should do because I gave good advice, which is not what therapists do hardly at all. So I went into something that just didn't really make sense for me anymore. And yeah, now I'm trying to figure out what even are my values, because I don't even know. I'm so used to people telling me who I am and what I should value, and there's just a lot of feedback about me and everything that I do that I don't know anything about myself anymore. So that's the position that I'm in. And I would say that my identities and my family genogram have definitely shown me that. And doing this project is something that I would do with a client. I wouldn't be able to do it now that I have like young children that I do therapy with, because they're like in elementary and middle school and don't really care or think about this kind of stuff. But doing this project has given me a lot of insight into the values that I would have or have had in the past and have influenced me in my life. So if I were to do this with a client that it was coming to me for career counseling, then this is definitely something I would do, because, you know, if someone is feeling unfulfilled in their job, it's probably for stuff like this, like other outside influences that have told them that they should do a certain thing or they should, you know, whatever. But other than that, I think the only considerations I would probably have for a genogram project like this with a client is that sometimes, like myself, I don't know much about my family at all. My family is really small for the most part, and a lot of these like bottom people I like hardly ever talk to or see. The only people I really interact with are me, my older sister, my dad. So yeah, I would have to consider that for a client, because, you know, something like that might make them feel even more lost. Or if like, even if they're just like adopted or something, I could see that being an issue. But otherwise, I did like the project. I would use it for a client. I used it for myself, and it's definitely given me insight into the things that I need to explore about myself. And yeah, I'm really sorry about this recording being a little longer than it's supposed to be. I just get very sidetracked when I'm in like a recording mode instead of writing. So I'm very sorry, but thank you anyway.